Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me this evening on this beautiful, hot, summery day in the UK. Today, the uh, 9th of July 2022. For those joining me on Instagram as well, thank you so much for those joining me on Twitter as well. Thank you so much for joining. Um, what am I drinking this morning? Afternoon? You got to have a drink. I'm having tea actually, ginger lemon tea. Actually, my throat felt a bit funny, so I'm having some ginger lemon tea. And here we go. What are you drinking? Yeah. And also, of course, I make sure I got some water as well for later in the day. Um, well, it's been a very interesting week worldwide. I would say worldwide, and hence the reason why I have coined the topic this week for the show, which is local and world development. And we're seeing in the UK where Boris Johnson has resigned. We're seeing the president, former prime minister of Japan, killed. We're seeing even in Sri Lanka, the people have actually said to the president, well, I've got a Sri Lankan human rights activist on tonight, so he's going to explain to me. And we're going to talk about leadership of the world. And the question that I put here as well is that our leadership of the world under threat? Okay? And I welcome you to come in for the show as well, and we can do it. But I'm going to bring in Anil, and we just get the ball rolling before I bring in my guest from Sri Lanka. You know? Here we go. Hey, Anil, how you doing?
What's going on, Silver? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I've just coming back from what you call it, a 3 hour of worship at my church.
That's certainly a nice day of worship.
Yeah, my wife actually she leads worship there and the church, so there's a big, massive 3 hours of full worship. So it was nice, and I just said, let me just come home now and just really get down into talk and sip. It's crazy thing. How is it over there? Is Biden still the president? Who is the president?
The last time I checked, he was. But as you said, there's so much, as Bob Marley said, there's so much trouble in the world right now.
Well, yeah, so much struggle in the world. I mean, you've seen the British PM just resign, and they're trying to find a new leader. Some people, I was playing a song by, I think it was Tavares. I forget who it was, or the OJs. Backstabbers into Boris Johnson. And then Japan president, or former prime minister, was assassinated.
Abe Shinzo, that's a tragic turn of events in Japan. Normally a pretty mild country, so I'm sure more to come later on, because I don't think there's an established motive as why he was assassinated. So it'd be interesting to see the development in the coming days. I know I saw a bit where the chief of police in that area took responsibility because they're saying there's some lapse in security. So hopefully they'll figure it out.
Because these things are happening in places like Japan, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it was interesting. And I don't remember the name of the person who did the assassination. Apparently, according to what I read, they said he thought that Abe was part of some group that he was against. So who knows what the motives are? I'm sure we'll learn more about it in the coming days.
Yeah, and also in Jamaica, there is a artist named what's his name? Popcorn. He was held in the UK here.
Oh, really? I saw something. Was it Popcorn? I thought it was Barbados. Was it the UK? I saw something where some artists said they were going to sue the Jamaican government.
That's Popcorn, yes. Through Bert Samuels. Bert Samuels, the lawyer, to say that the Jamaican police actually rat on him, and that's why they held him in the UK. But the most breaking news is that monkeypox, they say, is in Jamaica because somebody from Britain went there with monkeypox, just like how somebody with COVID went to Jamaica from the UK as well. But the breaking news is this: he escaped.
Yeah, I know. What they say, England keep giving back to its colonies.
Yes, but they said breaking news. Nationwide news understands that the patient who was hospitalized with monkeypox has fled the main pain hospital. Nationwide news source: the police have been alerted that the patient has absconded medical care, and there was somebody waiting for the patient after he jumped out.
Oh, wow. Isn't that deja vu over again? Because if you recall back when COVID started, it was the same thing. People broke quarantine and went wherever they went,
Yes,
and
yes,
that sort of the domino effect that followed.
yeah. But one of the things that I want to talk about is a bit. I'm supposed to get maybe Marsha Smith, the MP from Sentan, member of
Mhm.
Parliament, because she wasn't able to come on last week, and she's just gonna finish up that bit there about Ocherius.
Right.
But sorry, you're saying something on it.
No, no, no. Go ahead.
Yeah, so she's gonna come on a bit later, but I want to touch on a bit about leadership a bit, and that's why I'm gonna bring in Mira Jean. It's late in Sri Lanka now, but he said he's gonna give me an update as to what is happening because in Sri Lanka, for persons who don't know, the president Gotabaya Rajapaksa has announced he will step down after protesters stormed his official residence and set the prime minister's house on fire.
Yeah.
Neither the PM nor the president were in the building. Hundreds of thousands descended on the capital, Colombo, calling for Mr. Rajapaksa to resign after months of protests over economic mismanagement. I mean, Anil, this is something we have been talking about: economic mismanagement and around the world. You know.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing, right? And if we just do a little thought experiment, I do believe you're going to see more of this
Mm.
across, especially the developing world. Because if you look at inflationary pressures on food price, gasoline price,
Yes.
it's causing chaotic or chaos in a lot of these developing world. And when you have very slim margins and you sort of have these world events that are impacting the local events such as food price, gasoline price, you're going to see more of this across the world because
Mm.
as you rightly said, there's lack of leadership, and I don't think it was well thought through around the impact of sort of the war in the Ukraine and
Yes.
sort of all the dependency with wheat, gasoline price. And I think the countries who are facing the most are the developing countries. And I'm sure, the citizens, I don't know the story, so I'd love to hear from the gentleman that's going to come on
Yes.
around the cause of it. But you're seeing it in Jamaica as well. You're seeing food prices. And I do believe if you continue to see the rise of inflation, Silburn, you're going to
Yes.
see more of this type of protests
Mm.
across the world.
Across the world. Yeah. Okay. Let's bring in new head, Julian. Hey.
Yeah,
Good afternoon. Oh, well, what time is it there, new head, Julian? What time is it?
2:30. It's 2:30 a.m.
2:30.
2:30 a.m.
2:30
Yeah.
a.m. Wow, wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Muhead Duran is a human rights activist, but I'm gonna let him finish it off because I got him at the spot on from Sri Lanka, all the way from Sri Lanka to give us update. Anil, I introduced you to Muhead. Muhead Anil. Uh, so
Great
tell
to
us,
meet you.
yeah,
Hi.
Muhead, tell us, just briefly remind us what you do, and let's talk about Sri Lanka and leadership.
Uh, okay. Thank you very much for inviting for this talk show. I'm
Yeah.
Mohit Jira. I'm an international human rights activist and also international political lobbyist and a strategist. I'm very much interested on standing for the common people rights. So because the common people are always paying the price when the politicians are, manipulating the system and corrupting for themselves to have a luxury life. And the common people are always, getting to this, difficulties, the hardship. So what's
Mm.
really happening is like, I just wanted to explain to you about what's happened with Sri Lanka. Now, if you're looking at the current situation, like, for after the last 2 years of COVID lockdowns, around the world, I'm definitely sure there is a threat for all the leaderships. There is no question at all. So, but here, if you see that the COVID is a different matter with the lockdowns, and it's hitting the economy very harder. But at the same time, you're mismanaging the economy the other way around. So then what happens? Like like we have been hitting double times. So that's very hard for the Sri Lankan people to absorb and survive. That is the problem here. The uprising begins. So when the uprising begins for the major reason, when this president was elected in 2019, and they had the same issue in before 2015. This president's brother, he was the president for 2 terms, and the nepotism, that is like the family in politics, like the top positions being held by the family members. So in 2019 again they come back to power, like presidential election. The brother of that former president contested. He was a former defense secretary. But what happens when he comes, like and there was some expectation from the Sri Lankan, the Sinhalese majority, especially the majority, the Buddhists in Sri Lanka, and they came with a lot of conspiracies. Like, to be honest, I have to tell you that they have divide the society. Like, they create a fear among the majority, Sinhalese majority, by stating these minorities are threat to the Sri Lanka, like especially Tamil minorities as well as the Muslim minorities. So as you all know, that Easter bomb attack, like in 2019, with about 7 to 8 suicide bombers, and they have blew themselves in coordinated attack, right? So thereafter, like, there was a lot of discriminations was facing by the Muslim minorities. And then, like then even in the elections, like they create the fear, like if this president comes to power, like he will to make sure that he will what do you call that, he will remove this extremism, right? The Islamic extremism. But I have to tell you that it's a very the radicals are there. We can't deny that the radicals are there everywhere in the world.
Can I just stop you there, just to break it down, because according to the news here, and I just want you to break this down. What they say is that hundreds of thousands descended on capital Colombo, calling for the president to resign. The persons who are asking for him to resign, are these uprising of people, civilians, or it's political? I just want to break that down.
It is people's uprising, like it is people's uprising. That
it's like a spring. It's like a spring, and it's like the Arab Spring or something of that nature, where people.
It's an uprising. It's an uprising, like public wanted the presidents to leave. But in about 3 months back only they begins that. It's 92nd day is today, and that means yesterday. But at the beginning, what happens? Like the peaceful protest, like on May the 9th, suddenly these the prime ministers and the pro-government supporters, like these henchmen, who have been came and attacked brutally the protesters who are holding the one area near to the presidential secretariat, presidential office. They were staying, like the day and night, and they were being brutally attacked. So that day it creates a huge sort of a violence in the evening, where there are about 75 MPs' houses were torched, set fire. And thereafter, what happens is president's brother, the prime minister, who was the former president, he and his government resigned. But actually, the public, what they wanted is they want the president to resign because he mismanaged the economy. He has been his economic policies are very poor policies that created the blunder. So what happened after that? Again, on June 9th, again what happened? This pricing went heated up again, and the other brother, who is the finance minister, he also, it's like all about 3 to 4 brothers are holding highly, that means the cabinet positions, as well as this former president's, that means the prime minister's son also holding a cabinet position. And this is like, this is nepotism. Okay, then what happened, like, he resigns. That is the other brother who was finance minister. But what happened today, like, still, the government, that means, like, they brought a new government. Again, that government was resigned. Again, they brought another new government. What happens, like, when they brought this new government also, this president was not ready to resign. That is the problem. Is the public are thinking like this president, because he made a statement very recently. Yeah, I have done some sort of, I have done some mistakes on my policies, but I'm sorry. But you can't say like that. If you've done, it's like, for me, for my understanding, economy and the constitution, like a heart, and the constitution is like a heart, but economy is like a brain. The brain surgery is, it's a very sensitive surgery. So when you do a surgeon is doing the brain surgery, and if he's done some errors, like, and then he can't just say sorry, then I want to go back again and I want to do surgery. Like, you can't allow that. The same thing what happened to this president. So today what happened, like, he was waited, and the main reason is, the cost of living is, skyrocketing here. And skyrocketing means, like, Sri Lanka is the dependent economy, like, import dependent economy. So the fuel, gas, there are many stuffs are coming from the outside Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka, what happened is, like, they started to printing more money. And hello.
No, that's all right. I'm showing a picture of Sri Lanka. You can't say, keep talking.
Sri Lanka is, printing more monies. And also what happens, like, they were artificially holding the, what do you call, the dollar. The central bank was artificially holding. And suddenly what happened is, like, they had to, they can't hold it forever. They float the dollar. When they float the dollar, it was 200, then it automatically went to 350. It's like, almost 100%. Then, like, automatically everything went up. And Sri Lanka, the tourism was totally down, because after the COVID, and they have very difficult to bring the tourists, as well as, like, the tradings, like, we do, as I said, like, we have less exports, and we have more imports than exports. Then, what happens?
One second, Mir. Ani, you want to say something? Ani, you want to just jump in?
So I sort of have a couple of questions, just to tee out. One, what is the people asking for? So what I'm hearing from you is that you had COVID for 2 years, you had a lot of lockdown, but even prior to COVID, you had structural economic issues in Sri Lanka. And now you have inflation. And because Sri Lanka import, I don't know what percentage, a high percentage of all the things that they need to sustain on a daily basis, the price rise is causing an issue, right? What are your thoughts around, if you take COVID of it, obviously, right? Then you take some of the events that are going on in the world, right? You take events in the Ukraine, inflation across, US where I'm at, there's inflation. How do you think that impact what is going on there today in Sri Lanka?
What I'm saying is, like, as you said, like, the world was locked down for about 1 to 2 years. Okay. Then every country is, like, facing this inflation issue. But in Sri Lanka, the economic mismanagement, also another blunder, it comes from the president. So that, because that what happens now is, like, Sri Lanka doesn't have any dollars. So because of Sri Lanka didn't have any dollars, what happens, like, we get, like, that essential stuff, say gas and fuel. Fuel is very important for a country to move forward, right? So those stuffs are coming in very less, because they are very difficult. They are like, it's like a daily basis. They are ordering in not in the whole stock. Okay, so whatever the dollars they get, and they're buying it. So that creates a lot of difficulties for the public to go and buy it. So they have to wait. Like, for example, fuel, people are waiting about 3 days, 2 days, 3 days, some places 4 days in the queue to get about 5 to 10 liters of fuel. And the gas, people are waiting for for 24 hours, some people 48 hours. They just keep waiting to get a gas cylinder. So that creates more, because cost of living is going high, and the other way around, like you won't be able to buy things even you have money in your hand. So that situation created like a lot of hardship for the people, because no transportation, right? And all the suddenly cost of living went up, and all the transportation, they increase their charges. Then automatically all the other the food stuff has gone up. And the same way, what happens, like now these say for example, the government is telling for a gas, it was actually Sri Lankan rupees 1,300, and suddenly went up to 5,000. But what is happening here is now, people, if you really want to buy for 5,000, you have to wait in the queue for about at least 2 days, right? That also you are not sure you can get it. But if you pay 10,000 or 15,000, the black market, you can buy it. So the black market mafia has born. So for that reason, people are like, they have no hope now. So that's the reason, like they said, like to the president, to you made the blunder. But the people are saying is, first you leave. Let's see, because and the second thing also, the system is really corrupt. Not only president, I have to tell you, for my opinion, the system is more corrupt, means that has been created since for the last 74 years. The last 40 years, they have created new constitution, and that is giving more favor to the politician. Politician can use the power, and they can do whatever they want. There are some other countries, for example. But the same time, what happening is, like when politicians uh, you know are becoming corrupt, not only this government, in the past government also. So then the Sri Lanka was keep borrowing, like every time they had to keep borrowing. Like if you say, for example, if you say XYZ project is like say $10, now actual project of these $5, other $5 are going to the politicians' pocket. So these $5 are borrowing. Anyhow, we are borrowing these $10 from the outside, from the foreign lenders. Then we taxpayers had to pay all this money. So that issue is created, like it's like a pickle now. I'll say, if you talk about other part of the world, is different. Here we have so much of issues where the people can't absorb now.
So I think more what you're saying is that COVID is piece of it, but there's economical policy mismanagement, and on top of that, where you have high inflation and the fact that Sri Lanka is borrowing from IMF or World Bank or whomever, it is causing challenges for normal people to live, and the cost of living continue to go up, right? And the corruption is part of it. So those structural issues is sort of the grievances that the Sri Lankan people are, on the street and saying, "Hey, we need new governance because the current governance structure is not working." Is that a fair summary?
The people who are struggle, people who are protesting, mainly, more than they are looking for a new governance, but they're expecting for a new system. But they are saying this system is corrupt. This system is favorable for the corrupt politicians. Even you change a leader, and if you bring another corrupt leader, he will survive. He will survive, and he will rip the economy.
So what you're also saying is that if you remove the president, you still get the president who is also corrupt. So the system has got to change. That's what they're saying.
System has to go to change. What is the guarantee the president is like? I'll give you a very good example. I'll give you a good example, right? Now, person X and a person Y, both are good friends. The person X is borrowing 100,000, say for example, borrowing $10,000 from person Y. Okay, good friends. Okay, he's borrowing. That time, like in physically, he gives this $10,000 with say 100 notes of 100 notes, the dollar notes.
Yeah.
What normally happens is he count it, right? He counts, or either the person Y will tell count it, or the person X definitely will, even if you don't tell also, he will count it. But at the same time, this person X goes to the ATM machine, that automatic teller machine, and he uses his account card, and he gets the same time he gets about say $10,000 from the account, right? Gets about $100 notes. Once he gets it, he never counts it. He put it on a pocket, because the reason, it's a human psychology. The reason is he trusts the machine, he trusts the system, but he can't trust the human. So the same thing, when the system is not favorable for us, like the machine, And what is the guarantee? Another politician will come, he will going to be very genuine. He will not going to rip off the taxpayers' money. So that
Okay.
issue is there.
So more,
Okay.
so
Go on.
how
Go
do
on.
you, so you established that there are some issues. So what's the path forward for the people of Sri Lanka? Because one of the things I know about Sri Lanka is the cricket, right? Because West Indies is the greatest cricket nation, right? And I know we used to have some battle in the past. So what's the future for the Sri Lankan people?
The future looks very dark. I have to be. It's very bleak and dark because if there is a, the country has to unite. The country has to unite. People must unite together, and they have to set aside all the difference of political differences, and they have to, what do you call that? Go for a new system. I'll give you a very good example. Now we talk about the cricket. You said about the cricket. Okay. Now this is how the Sri Lankan system works. Okay. Now the politician is a batsman, and the politician's bat is the power. Okay, taxpayers, we are the bowlers, and the ball is our tax money, right? So whatever we bowl, they are hammering sixes and fours. We can't get them out, right? So we don't, because it's the bizarre situation is the pitch was made by the batsman, that's the politician, in favor of them. It's a flat track. It's a batting track. So even that's what I'm saying is even you change the batsman, they will go to have us. So what we really need now is instead of we are allowing the politician to make the pitch again, let's the people has to take the power back and they have to make the pitch in favor of bowlers. Then what will happen is it becomes the bowling pitch. The good batsmen they will survive. The bad batsmen will kicked out. They will clean bowl. So this is what the majority of Sri Lankans are expecting. We need a change that is favorable. Now, if you talk about we talk about, say, for example, Boris Johnson's situation in England. Okay, people are not that much bothered. But, they know that Johnson can't hold it forever. But the same situation comes up with Sri Lankan president. Definitely, he will hold it forever. Because they are in England. You all don't need to worry because the system is very much favorable for the taxpayers.
Can I
Yes.
can I stop you there? And you said something, and I pick up on the same point you mentioned. And I'm looking at something from the BBC, which mentioned a prominent human rights lawyer in Colombo, Bhavani Fonseca, who warned that the president's announcement might not be enough to appease the people. Just two resignations alone will not satisfy the demands of a system change. But at least this is a start. If the president and the prime minister depart, there has to be a peaceful transition of power, which is yet to be seen. Now, it is clear what you said earlier that there need to be a system change in Sri Lanka. I want to bring this, and one of the reasons why I brought you on is to give that example of Sri Lanka. Look at what's happening in the UK, because you are very closely connected with what's happening in the UK and the leadership, and what happened even in Japan, even though it's the ex-prime minister who got shot and killed. Our leadership in this world under attack, from your perspective there? Leadership, presidents, prime ministers, are they failing in a certain way?
Okay. I would say the leaderships are now falling down like a deck of cards. Now, what we really hear the news of Boris Johnson, Sri Lankan president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, and that it's there are some other leaders. Okay, but what I can say is this is the beginning of falling down of deck of cards. There will be more leaders will be kicked out because maybe they are not very much enough to manage this situation, because this situation means the COVID creates a real big confusion. When it's come to politics, it's a very new thing for the last 4 to 5 decades of political system, where no it's like in the past, if you go around in the past, uh, uh, the countries are individually facing problems. But
Yeah.
this COVID problem was collectively, globally stuck, right? Thereafter, you know, this Ukraine war, which is another a big blunder. To be honest, I'll tell you that
Mm.
the war in Ukraine and Russia, because as I said, the gas as well as the fuel, that becomes the very essential part in many part of the world, right? So they are the one of those major producers. Okay, so those things are also getting stuck now. If you see these 2 years of roller coaster moment during the COVID times, and
Mm.
now we are getting another the huge weight into the pressure into the economic system of every other countries. So
Yeah.
these leaders are now totally confused and they have no idea what they have to do. But I would tell you that even this is my opinion. Like for example, in UK, uh, Boris Johnson, okay, he was violating the COVID regulations, right? That time, the people, like, there was the confidence vote. In the confidence vote, Boris Johnson got about 200 odd, MP support. The people
Yes.
who went against Johnson last few days back are people who voted in favor of him to keep it, right? Then, within a very short period of time, they are, I'm a bit of confused about the Boris Johnson's matter, because the
Mm.
reason is Johnson realized his mistakes, and
Yeah.
Johnson got a chance. When Boris got a chance, and do you really think that Boris will play the blunder in a very short period? Maybe like another 6 months later,
Yeah.
he might go back to square one. But within 3 to 4 weeks of time, I don't think he would have done something like a blunder, big blunder, for him to kick down. But the cost of living, the inflation, these are playing a very big role. There is no question. So
You got to
if
find somebody to blame,
Yeah.
if anything.
yes,
So,
yeah, it's like who is going to bail the cat? That is the question. But all I have to tell you now, looking at the current situation, now there is a leadership contest, and there are people who came forward, and I'm also a bit see that when is Rishi, he was starting with a campaign, and he's talking
Yeah.
about the beautiful of the immigration, that is his family, how he has come, like his family and all. But I have
Yeah.
to tell that he has to talk about the major problem. Is Boris' problem is not is major issue is about the cost of living, right?
Mm.
So what I can see from this, from my forecast, even another government comes, another leader comes, I don't think they will survive for a very longer period. Like within a very short period,
Yeah.
again there will be this thing. Even Britain is going for another election.
Yes.
That whoever comes to power, they will also going to have a roller coaster moment. It's like walking on the tightrope.
Yeah.
So that is not only for UK. Many countries are going to face this problem. That
Yes.
is my
I,
this thing. This is
I,
a very new experience.
yeah. Let's bring in Anil. Yeah. Mm.
I think some of it more it is, I look at it sort of globally, right? There's this, what we call the globalist movement. But if you sort of look at the UN, for example, I think there are, someone could check my facts. There's probably about 147 countries that make up the UN,
Yeah.
right? But if you think about, sort of, in the past, when you have strong leadership, the US was a strong leader. You had, UK, you name it, right? The EU as a bloc.
Mm.
But if you think about over the last 2 years, you have what we call the G7, right? The G7 is setting policies that impact, sort of global economic, um, what do you call it, cost of living, right? So if you look at G7 and the things they're doing, supporting the war, right? I don't believe they're taking into consideration that there are downstream impact to the developing world, that Sri Lanka, Jamaica, all these countries that has very limited sort of cash flow, if you will, or reserve, can't survive 2 years, 3 years where the inflation is continuing to go up. So in terms of Silber and point around leadership, I don't believe you have that one or two leaders that are thinking beyond their country, right? And you're seeing it in the UK where Boris, and to your point, Boris, I think, was going to survive until that sexual assault allegation came out. And I think that
From
sort of,
some other guy, another Mr. Pincher, a pincher pinching someone else, not Boris.
right. And I think, all of that come into play, sort of pushed him over the edge. But your point is, who's going to take Boris' position? But that still doesn't solve the lack of leadership across the world, right? When Merkel left, I think Merkel was the last sort of leader who thought about things from a global impact. We don't
Yes.
have that anymore. And I think that's where you're seeing that structural issue that's impacting the world across. And you're seeing the chaotics and the chaos within countries, such as Sri Lanka. So I don't know how we're going to solve that because from a U.S. perspective, people could argue around, Joe Biden and sort of his role within the world, but I don't see that one leader or two or three that is thinking about the global impact, and I think those are some of the structural issues that you're seeing.
If I could come in right here, and Anil, the point you mentioned there is right. When Merkel went, it left a void.
Yes,
And the gentleman who's now the president of the German chancellor is silent.
so yeah,
There's no sort of gravitas we are seeing there. When I'm not going to say when Trump left, but I'm going to say that America somewhat has been failing in having that level of gravitas as well as a key world player, and the UK is now left a bit forward
rudderless.
in a way. The good thing about Boris was with Zelensky, but many people said that was like that was like something he needed to distract him from home. you know, so we're seeing now the world is void of leadership, and I was looking at the Nolan principles recently, the 7 principles that accountability, transparency, leadership, integrity, and all those sort of things which leaders seem to be failing. And then it dawned on me that no leaders actually match up to even the Nolan principle.
But I think still, Brian, the other piece, I think there's no empathy and humility for the people,
Mm,
right? I think across the world, when you see COVID, right, people are talking down. Leaders have been talking down to the people. There's no empathy. There's no humility. And I think you're seeing a lot of the citizens across the world are feeling that. And that is what I believe you see in that, pushback and those protests to say, we want a say in the governance and policies of our country. And I think you're going to see more and more of those protests around the world.
mm. Mued, what? I don't want to keep it too long because it's now 3 o'clock. It's now something to 3 in the morning. You got a lot of campaigning to do to get Sri Lanka back. You might have to run for office and take Anil and I as your strategist to come there.
I know he got to be the spin bowler that take out all his batsmen.
Still, you have to be a good curator to make sure that the pitch has to be favor to the spin bowler and the whatever the medium face bowlers. So that's very important.
Yeah.
My opinion is like uh, uh, the country needs a big shift in the system change. So that's what I'm expecting, and I don't know. I hope that maybe like it's the biggest belief for the people because of politicians are also always very cunning in this part of the world. They don't
Yeah.
they don't follow that set of principles. Like they tell that I'm a center right, I'm a left wing, a right wing. I think there is no wings in Sri Lankan politics.
Wow, wow. Well, listen. Miriam, I'm gonna let you go now. But before you go, who's the person that you'd like to take over from Boris Johnson?
I think
Silver.
Sorry?
I said Silver. Yeah, I
Silver.
think Brian, you got a Silver should take over.
No, I think it's like Rishi is like Rishi is like keeping himself as a favorite. Like I think this time, I believe somebody is from, who is going to replace the Boris Johnson position is going to be an underdog. That I feel it like, Nadeem Zawahi might clinch in, or maybe Suela, Fernandez. That is like, I forgot. She has changed the surname now. Like, that's early is Fernandez. She's from coming from the, I think, where is that? I forgot that.
Oh, the Asian lady,
Yeah.
the Attorney General, is that what he's talking?
Yeah. So these are the two, but Priti Patel has a very slim chance because I don't think because of her policies, very much restrictive policies, which is like affecting very badly. Now, when it comes to this recent immigration policy on you guys are talking about around the world and say that we need to respect the human rights. Human rights is all about as rights which human brings to the world with them. When they someone who's born, they are bringing. But you can't make the human rights pick and choose. At the end of the day, if you talk about democracy, they say like there is no pick and choose. You have to follow it. If the people voted for a madman, you have to give the seat to him. That's how they talk about democracy. But at the same time, you preaching around the world, and you are making the decision of people who are coming with all the difficulties in their what do you call to living, and they having the threat for their life, and they come here, and you are sending back. And I have a question, Silva.
Yes.
When it comes to Priti Patel's policy, what can we call when somebody when somebody from Sri Lanka or somebody from some other part of the Africa, or some say Syria or somewhere, who goes to to UK legally? That means like with the visa, and they landed there, and thereafter they're saying like we can't go back. I have a threat to my right. So that time what you do is normally you want to make sure to investigate to make sure that there is a threat or no threat for their life. Okay. So if there is no threat, okay, then you can send back. But if there is threat, you have no way of sending back, because then you have to take the accountability if something happened to that person. Okay. But somebody who comes from Rwanda and saying that I have threat to my life in Rwanda, and that person, according to the UK's law, you have to send it to the camp, that is like the immigration camp in Rwanda, back again.
Yeah.
So how does that law work?
I think they're saying in certain cases that won't happen, but it may be shelved. It may be shelved as a result of the new changes in the prime minister and all those sort of things. But listen, Murat, what are you drinking before you? Sorry, Taiwan, how are you?
Water.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I will be honest and tell you, obviously it's a mug, and it's a white mug. So
hang on a second. I was watching BBC the other day, and Najeta, whatever that lady there, Naga, that's a BBC presenter. She started off, and the cup that she had before her was just a decor. Was just for decoration. She had to go down and pick up this big bottle of water on the ground. And my wife and I was watching and said, I'm sure she's waiting for the break to come. So the cups that we have sometimes on these things, nothing is inside of them, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But listen, Jiran, listen. Muhit, have a good night,
Who is the other guest today?
That's the president of Nigeria. The president of Nigeria.
No, I'm not the president of anything. I can give presidential speeches. It's different. My name is Taiwo. I'm here in the UK. These videos go to Downing Street and places like that, so I don't like to say too much. I don't want people coming to look for me, you know.
You get sent to Rwanda in that camp.
Well, yes, exactly, you know. So that's why I just put my first name there, and, you know.
But listen, maybe Rwanda has picked up something that many countries developed and exploded with their economy through immigration. So what they did then is say, hang on a second, let us get immigrants to Rwanda to work the country. Maybe
There you
that's
go.
it.
That's the brain drain.
You know?
The brain drain of Uganda. So the British is supplying the brains.
Yes, yeah. Well, listen, Mert, listen, take care of yourself, have a good sleep.
Okay, right. Thank you
And
very much.
we'll have a show and keep us posted on what's happening in Sri Lanka, okay?
Okay, right. No problem.
Make sure you're sleeping, okay? You got a lot of work to do tomorrow. And then I'll hear that you'll be the new president or prime minister, and then you can speak for us.
I wish that I don't want to be part of the corrupt political system.
Well, that is why you're going to change the system.
Yeah, if the system is good, I could consider. If the system is corrupt, it's better to be the rights activist.
Can I just ask a question? Can I just ask one question? How do you think the system will change then? Is there a way for it to change? Is there a process?
No, the system is changed means like, as I said, like, this is mostly like, there is no proper accountability for the politicians. So say if I'm making some sort of a crime, I'll be arrested by the police and I will be taken up, and everything goes on properly. Like the law will be applied to me in a perfect way. But for the politicians, the law, there is no way of applying the perfect way. So they know that, and they just keep spending the taxpayers' money. So what really we wanted is to make sure that it has to be, the law should be equal to everyone. Like what's happened in Britain, say Boris Johnson, Prime Minister, what he has done, he had some break the COVID quarantine regulations, if it is Sri Lanka, there's nothing. There are so much of regulation violated by the president, the ministers and all the MPs, lawmakers, but nothing happened to them. No one, even they didn't say sorry also. At least Boris said sorry. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Peace out.
Okay, right. Thank you very much. You take care. Okay.
All the best.
I'll make a move. Okay, right.
Take care.
Bye.
So I think, Silver, my money, my bet is on Penny.
Penny?
Penny, yes. My bet is.
You've been digging. You've been digging.
Yeah, I think Penny, if is correct, she's been sort of touted as the Margaret Thatcher-esque. And it seems that if I remember when Boris Johnson had this issue in the confidence vote, they asked her and she didn't come out supporting him. But it seems like if you look at the betting, she's probably the second favorite. But I believe she's probably the safest hand. And I believe she was a trade minister, and she was a defense minister under what's the other lady that resigned under before Boris?
Theresa May?
Yeah, she was the defense secretary under Theresa May.
Well, here is her. That's her. Penny Mordaunt, Minister of State, made history becoming the UK's first female defense secretary in 2019. A naval reservist. She had already served as Armed Force Minister under David Cameron. She's a former magician's assistant. Maybe she'll bring the magic.
There you go.
And head of the Conservative Party's youth wing. Best known outside Westminster for appearing on ITV's celebrity diving show Splash. I saw that bit. It was very interesting. Formerly a press officer for William Hague when he was party leader in Kensington and Chelsea Council, and became an MP for Portsmouth North in 2010. Ty, what do you think about Penny?
The truth is, I have no perspective whatsoever on her. So that probably says it all.
Why? Just because you don't know her, she's not relevant? Is that what you're saying?
No, but so is she the latest, most recent addition to the list? First of all, because I'm only hearing, I'm getting the news from you. She's on the list now. I didn't know that. This must be This must be within the last few hours, right?
No, so this is when did Boris had his bid, when the no confidence vote? Was that 2 months ago?
Yeah, about a month and something ago, if anything.
Yeah, someone wrote an op-ed about her, about that she was Margaret Thatcher-esque. So she's been on the radar. I don't think she's been flying under the radar. And if you look at sort of the poll and the betting, I think she's number 2 right now.
Really interesting. Yeah, no, I just didn't.
I don't know what happened. I think when you went away, something happened to your mic, and
your mic is choppy. It's choppy.
It's choppy.
Yeah.
Let's see.
When you went something happened.
But you know, Silver, I throw fix his mic.
Yeah.
You know, when you sort of look at it and you sort of examine post-mortem around Boris, you know, and I was thinking about it because Boris, he won. I don't remember if he won a majority, right? And he had
a majority, yes. He had a walking majority, yes.
Exactly. He had high polling. He delivered Brexit. But if you look at a lot of his critics, they're saying he abandoned, and I don't know if you guys know this more than I do because you live in the UK. He abandoned the conservative principles, and I'm not sure exactly what that means. And then you have certain MPs, I think they were willing to go ahead with him, and then you had the no confidence vote. And I was reading a bit, I think it was an economist, that a lot of the MPs start holding their local sort of citizens, and they realized that Boris Johnson was not popular in whatever places they represent. So after the no confidence votes, it seemed like there is one bit after another. And the last bit was 2 weeks ago. And I think that was sort of the tipping point that people just abandoned him. And it seems like he was going to fight. And then I'm not sure what happened 2-3 days ago where he decided to resign.
I think what happened is after the Pinchers thing and persons like Sajid Javid, persons like Rishi Sunak, these persons get their briefing from number 10 or whatever to say, yes, you can go on record to say, yes, the prime minister didn't know nothing or whatever like that. They went on record, and then it has come to light that actually he knew about this guy before, and yet he appointed him. And they're saying, listen, we can't do this anymore. We can't. We have to pull shit from him, and that is where the whole thing broke. Now he said he was going to continue, but then the 1922 committee, which is led by Sir Graham Brady,
is that what they call it, backbencher?
The backbenchers, yes, the 1922 committee. It happened similar to Margaret Thatcher when they went to Margaret Thatcher and said, listen, the figures are not adding up. And I don't know if it's Margaret Thatcher. Yeah, I think it was Margaret Thatcher. Even though she got the confidence vote, but they can change the rules. And if they change the rules again, that can be damning and they'll kick him out. So therefore, I believe the chief whip or Graham Brady or someone went to the prime minister and said, listen, it's time up, Mike, And I think that's when he said, okay, let's do it. That is why the reporters that morning all started getting messages saying the prime minister is going to make an announcement. He's going to make an announcement. But everybody believed that he was going to make an announcement and go to the Queen. But he hasn't been to the Queen as yet. So they said he hasn't resigned, actually. He only resigned as a leader.
So what you're saying,
yes,
Silbrand, for you to resign in the UK, you announce it, but then there's a protocol where you have to go talk to the Queen.
You go to the Queen now, and where you say you're resigning as Prime Minister. And then when you do that now, then somebody will take over as the caretaker or so. So therefore, when the new leader is elected through the whole process whereby they go through the shambles of the different MPs, and if it's whittled down to two, then it goes to the membership. And then that is where I can play a role in voting because I got a membership card as a Conservative member. Now, that is when the Prime Minister now goes to the Queen and say, I resign. And then the new person now go to the Queen and say, I have confidence. I command confidence in, or I lead a majority of MPs. And then they become the lead. They were already the leader of the Conservative Party.
But now they become the Prime Minister.
But now they become Prime Minister. And then many people now are going to get upset and annoyed to say, How can these guys impose on us a prime minister
that we didn't vote for.
that we didn't vote for?
Mm.
And how can 200,000 persons in the UK vote for these two persons when it's a nation of millions? And people are saying that is what is going to peel off people, because they're going to say, we didn't vote for Rishi Sunak. But guess what? This is what people always need to remember. You did not even vote for Boris unless you were in Boris' constituency.
And I was gonna say
Yeah.
when Theresa May resigned, it was sort of the same sort of talking points around. You have this cabal is the term that they call it, that was going to
Yes.
elect a prime minister that the people did not vote for. So it's an interesting times, I'm sure,
Yes.
in the UK.
Tyler, what's your take on the whole thing? Your mic is
Well,
back.
yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm still processing everything. What I'm thinking of mostly is what I was saying to you in the afternoon. That the question is, how much change is there going to be with a change of the leader of the Conservative Party?
Mm.
Is it going to be simply a case of someone else coming in
Mm.
and not really they're not, a new head, but everything else being more or less the same? Or is it going to be someone that's going to be new blood growing new cells, if you like, within the physiology of government? Because I think that's what, well, I think that is what is needed. Um,
Mm.
People, uh, people are not having their needs fully met, fully served by the
Yeah.
engine of government at the moment. So there's been the discussion about Brexit and um, and the fact that, well, okay, Boris delivered Brexit, but everything else that's supposed to come hasn't really started happening.
Mm.
So I don't know. I'm just waiting to see. I don't really, I don't really have, um, I don't really have high hopes, to be honest with you, that anything is going to change drastically. I think,
So you don't think anything is going to change fundamentally? It is just like you vote out the prime minister, you still get the prime minister, and nothing really change. Just playing
yeah. Well,
games.
I mean, if it doesn't matter who on that list comes in. Um, what I mean is, I mean, when Obama came in, for example, in the US, when he came to power, you could see from the moment he announced his candidacy, I was in the US then, that there was a different kind of energy at play. It was
Atmosphere.
clear, it was clear that, I mean, even before he actually won and swore took the oath, it was clear that there was something new. I
Yeah.
remember listening to the news reports when the name Obama was strange. Who is this guy? And I remember. Sometimes you hear something. Where you
Yes,
were.
yes,
I
we
remember.
can. Yes, we can. Yes, that was the key
Yes.
thing.
So I remember where I was, and it was something really new. You know, but we don't really have that here yet, and I think a lot of it is down to British conservatism. You know, it seems in this country we don't actually want anything or anyone that's going to
Break the
bring.
mold.
Yeah, we don't. There's going to be a breath of fresh air. It really doesn't seem. So those who are the Kemi Badenochs, the Rishis, the Sajids, the Suelas, are just people that are good at, they've read the script, and they know what the limits, the boundaries are, and are good at operating with. I mean, if I was in any of those positions, um, I wouldn't have probably. I don't know. I'm not saying. But they might not have taken to me nicely. I don't know. It's a guess. But so here, well, okay. Let me phrase it slightly differently. So I was pondering this earlier this evening. People are complaining we can't have Rishi because at the end of the day he's not a commoner. He's a rich man. He's a millionaire. He doesn't feel the pains of everybody, so he can't govern from the point of view of empathizing with the average Joe on the street. To paraphrase. And I thought to myself, okay, if that is the case, if someone like me steps up to the plate, right, does that mean that that person would be welcomed and be received? A more, have a better reception than Rishi? I don't think so, because then it will be something else. People will always have a complaint. People will always have something to say.
Yeah.
So I have a, and obviously you both are in the UK, but I get a sense that it's going to be different this time. And here's my thought around it. And it goes back to some of the conversation we were having about these economic issues across the world. There needs to be someone who step up to be a leader. I think whoever succeed Boris as prime minister, they're going to have the option to figure out they need to govern for the British people. And I think whoever is there has ambition, because remember, you will have an election at some point in time. So they're going to have to deliver.
Kemi Baden.
Right.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I just realized that we got a lady finally, so we can balance the books. Jody, sorry, keep talking on you.
So they have to deliver something for the British people, just like when Boris came in, right? His whole bit when he came in was, I am going to deliver Brexit to you, right? And he delivered it in high approval ratings, right? I think whoever replaced Boris has to address the inflationary issues, all the economic issues that are facing the UK. So I believe it's going to be a little bit slight different this time. Obviously, you guys know the candidates, much more intimate than I do, but I have a sense whoever come in, they're going to have to deliver. And I believe if they deliver, the question becomes, after the election, what comes next, right? Because they're going to want some amount of legitimacy from the people, just like what Boris did, right? When he took over from Theresa May, he called an election, he won, delivered Brexit, and then he went on his way. Obviously, he had a lot of bumps in the road, and I think you're going to see the same playbook.
We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Of course, it'd be good if the thing is,
what happens to Silburn?
Oh, he's in the background tweaking some cables, probably, or something. He's just left us to chat amongst ourselves for now. But sometimes when we're assessing whether a leader delivered or not, we also have to remember the terrain that they're walking on and they're treading on at the time. So when Boris came in, it was Brexit. Now we have inflation and we have the Ukraine war. So I mean, no president or prime minister ever knows whether they're going to be having to deliver in a pandemic or in a war, or they never know what it is they're going to be dealing with. But that often changes the dynamic in a certain way.
Yeah, and I think also you just make a great point. You need leadership around the war in Ukraine, right? Because the war in Ukraine cannot continue to drag out, because the impact across the globe is just keeping getting the tax that the globe and especially developing countries are facing. It just can't continue, right? So
Sorry, guys, I got kicked out and I'm back in. I just realized.
No,
Jody,
I heard Boris Johnson kicked you out.
Jody, are you there? Can we hear you?
No,
Jody.
we're not hearing Jody.
Okay, keep talking, guys, and I work on. I
Yeah,
fix
no,
the
I'm saying is that there needs to be someone who said, look, obviously the invasion is a tragic and the Ukrainian people are suffering. But the question becomes how much world suffering you're going to have continued, right? We hear the gentleman from Sri Lanka are on the prices. I saw it in Jamaica, right? I'm sure tell you're from, Nigeria, I believe. You see some of the inflationary stuff there. So across the world, food prices are going up, and what you normally see when food prices and gasoline price goes up, and people can't sustain their basic needs, that's when you see the protest started. And I think someone needs to step up and say, wait a minute here, how much pain are we going to inflict on everybody across the world, right? And I think you're going to need that leadership. So if I was whomever it is, you have an opportunity to be a leader among leaders around the world, right?
yeah.
To sort of impact worldwide issues in a way that we're talking about the silver. We don't have someone who have stepped up
Yes.
and sort of be that de facto world leader, if you will.
Jody, just want to check if Jody can hear us.
I don't know if she is.
Send
Jody
her a
Maria,
message.
Jody, hello.
She cannot hear.
Hello.
you can't hear us. Look
Yeah.
like Jody's sleeping.
She's actually sleeping, actually. Another thing I was thinking about while I try to work on Jody there is, it's really unfortunate. I'm getting the feedback. It's really unfortunate that while everyone is seeking for a new leader, everybody keep missing out on the point that you talk about, Anil, empathy. Nobody's actually working at dealing with the high cost of living within all the different factions. Let's say for the UK, for argument's sake, the Conservative, the Lib Dem, even Nicola Sturgeon, in a sense of trying to, while the leadership and all of this thing is happening, let's see how we can actually get some select committee, get some steering group to deal with this high cost of living, because everybody's talking about elections. And Anil, what happened here is this, and this is what is going to happen. I predict what's going to happen. There's going to be a new leader, and that leader is going to go become the prime minister. And then right after that, Labour is going to keep saying, you do not have a mandate.
So you need to call election.
An election. Right? And then we're going to go back into that same rut again. And it goes around. It's a cycle that comes all the while. Every 3 years happen. And therefore, Labour doesn't help. Nobody helps at this time, and we're going to go through this precipice. And that is why Boris, and it's unfortunate that Boris dug his own grave in a certain way. He had the opportunity for a good 2 years run after this recent break and the recent, what should I say, confidence vote, but that was squandered. And unfortunately, and the British public is going to suffer as a result of that.
I think if I were Boris and you sort of self-reflect, I think his blunder, in my opinion, was he didn't address the basic needs for the British people. What he did, for whatever reason, when the Ukraine war came up, he jumped both feet into it and sort of ignore some of the basic issues around inflation and stuff like that in the UK, right? And some people might opine that he used the Ukraine war as a distraction, but the people in the UK said, hold on a bit. Same thing with the US. You're sending billions of dollars over there, but we need billions here, right? And I think you could do both, but you have to be able to explain it to the citizens why you're doing it. Yes. And I don't think anyone sat down and articulated to say, hey, here's the reason why we have to do this. Someone asked Biden, I think he was in Spain, about how much, price of gas. And he's like, as high as it could go. And if you're the middle class, and if you're the person who live paycheck to paycheck, paying $6 a gallon for gas, you have to figure out, do I pay the rent? Or do I drive to work? Right. And those are the basic decision-making process. And it goes back to the question you just talked about, or what you just made, around empathy, the humility of our leaders to talk to our folks, right? Remember, we're not talking to the elites or the newscasters. You got to talk to those middle class folks and explain to them, tell them what is it that you're going to do to improve their life. Because telling a person who I saw in New York someone driving and it's costing him $600 a week for gas, right?
Yes.
That's $2,200 a month, right?
Wow.
Right. So if you think about the things that he or she has to give up, and that's where we go back to humility and the empathy of our leader is just lacking.
Yeah. Well, it's really sad. But in shifting from that there, and before we go, I was looking at the Nolan principles. You know, the whole bit regarding public life. Those in public life, guys. I don't know if you follow the Nolan principles. And when I was looking at it the other day, and the Nolan principles is right on the website for the government of the UK, the 7 principles of public life. And I'm going to just put this up there, and tell me if you guys can match up to this. Taiwo, I know you match up to this very easily, right? Right, Taiwo?
Yes, well,
There you are. 7
eh,
principles of northern life. Selflessness. You got that, right, Taiwo?
yes, I'm actually just trying to see if I can. I just wanted to, sorry, not to take us back, but I'm just trying
Yeah.
to see if I could share this.
Okay, let me move this for a bit and then you come back. Yeah. You're trying to show something, yeah?
Yes, yes, yes. I've not used this feature before, but I'm uploading it. It's okay. It's rotated, but I don't know if you get it. I can screen share. Sorry, I'm not used to using this platform, but it's
If you WhatsApp it to me, if anything, I can share
yeah,
it.
okay, I'll WhatsApp it to you. Yeah, so I'll WhatsApp it to you. But basically, it was just to underscore the point about you know the government doing something to address the cost of living and so on. We see. So you had the gentleman from Sri Lanka on earlier. It's to some extent not the government's problem. This is a global problem now, and okay, one of them is still coming in sideways for some reason, but it's in your WhatsApp. It's the forces of economics at play now, especially with the war, grain in storage that cannot be shifted to where it's needed, and all the knock-on effects of that. Obviously, cost of fuel because cutting off the energy supply from Russia. I think the whole world has just realized the extent to which we've been dependent on Russia. And even if you were not dependent on Russia before, which I think applied in the case of the US, because the balance of the European energy supply, in the case of Germany in particular, is now because they were very dependent, and you had sort of the former chancellor, I think, before Angela Merkel, who was invested in, was it Rosneft or something?
You talking
So,
Schroeder?
so you, sorry?
You talking Chancellor Schroeder before Merkel?
Yes, 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 yeah. So you have all that interplay, and obviously that's going to. I mean, it's just the force of the force of economics is what's playing out, but a lot of thank you. Yeah. So a lot of around the world, Sri Lanka, Ghana has been in the news lately. These protests are happening everywhere because inflation is just unbearable for for these citizens. I mean, in the UK, we're obviously a bit more insulated. In the US, a bit more insulated, and you have strings and things you can pull. But when you talk of countries like Sri Lanka or Ghana, then there's the effect of what is even why I had this up on my screen from the afternoon. It's sort of information I like to look at, but if you just look at the
Is it the one that the one that I have up now?
yes, yes, yes. So, for example, I mean, if you start down the left-hand column, there's a well, I'll just use the fifth column from the left, the sovereign debt vulnerability rate ranking. So there's a high chance now that these countries are going to default on their government bonds, and that's going to send well, the Bloomberg article it just says we're just going back to I don't know what year it was, but you remember it's all this cycle of okay, imagine countries they're high debts, and then after a while Paris Club comes, and then you wipe it off. That was the work that Ngozi Weala did when she was finance minister in Nigeria. Got a lot, but then all the debt comes back. The discussions that
Mm.
need to be had. Um, First of all, we need people in government that understand things, that understand economics, that understand finance, global trade, and things like that,
Mm.
because it really does help when it comes to making policy. Um, and then we need to understand that no country is insulated. Remember when COVID first happened and the UK started talking about vaccines and we must be vaccinated first. And then you had people coming and saying, well, you can be fully vaccinated, but as long as people are coming from other regions of the world, then you're even more at risk. That it's better to make sure some of these vaccines that were procured via the World Health Organizations for developing nations, that those are shared, but we I think we're facing a test of
Yeah.
um, humanity or empathy. Basically, are we willing to look beyond our immediate geographical borders, or are we just selfish? We in the UK we seem to have this attitude that if as long as we take care of ourselves, forget the rest of the world, we'll be fine. Whereas we're much more closely linked to whatever happens elsewhere.
If
That's
I
not even talking of the climate
yeah,
issue.
if I stop you there, and they mention about the world view, Anil, the world picture, the looking at from a global perspective. Trump was looking at an insulated perspective, like take care for ourselves. Which is working? Which is the right one, or is it a bits of this and bits of that?
So, so Silver, when you look at it, we're globally, I think that
Connected, yeah.
globally connected world, right? If you look at the supply chain, right? If you go, I'm gonna use Nigeria, Jamaica, because we're both from those countries. If you look at Jamaica, a lot of exports are imports are from around the world, right? They don't make a lot of things. Grain prices, I think Ukraine and Russia, 70% of the world wheat come from that region.
Yes.
Significant amount of oil and petroleum products come from that region, right? Fertilizer, Russia controls 70% of the fertilizer market. So when you take a lot of that offline through sanctions, obviously, as we mentioned before, Russia invading Ukraine is a no-no, right? And the question then becomes, what's the solution to end the war? Is the solution to create a hot war with Russia, then impact global economic issues? So you mentioned, Tara, about in Ghana, in Jamaica, in Sri Lanka, right? What is the price? 7 countries, because I go back to say there's 7 countries that have decided that we call them the G7. They just met that they're going to continue this process, regardless of the impact to the developing world. And the developing world do not have a collective voice to say, hold on a minute here. I get it, it's a tragedy. We need a diplomatic solution for this war, right? Because the impact to global supply chain is creating economic challenges from UK, from Jamaica, all over. And what you're going to have destabilization of government, right? So we could come out of this where you have many government that has fallen because the people has uprising. Because when your basic needs are not met, when you can't feed your kids, that's a problem. So to
Yes.
me, this is where you need that leadership to say, hold on a minute. You just put up that chart. We can't continue, right? We just cannot continue down this path. It's not a sustainable path But unfortunately, I don't know what are the drivers, and we don't
Yeah.
have. I keep saying we don't have the Henry Kissinger of our time that says, "Hold on a minute, right? The policies that you just put in place, we're just going to
Doesn't
destabilize the world." But here's the thing: China energy costs has gone way down, right? China energy costs is way down because they're buying all of the
yeah.
oil and all of the things that we don't want from Russia, right? So the economy that is going to benefit out of this is the Chinese economy, right? Because their cost of energy just went way down, right? We just saw some numbers. I was reading an article that
Mm.
China is the number one manufacturing country in the world. They will surpass the US shortly as the number one economic power in the world,
Mm.
right? So you think about those things, right? And I think that's where, you sort of go back to the bit around, Boris Johnson replacement. And that's
Mm.
why I have that optimism that says whoever replaced Boris Johnson hopefully has that global view to say, how do we fix the issues in the UK? But how do we help more broadly a global connected economy to make sure you're taking care of your people?
There's something that I'm planning to do leading up to the elections. You know that movie called Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks.
Yep.
I'm coining a little show, a little series called The Road to Number 10. I was telling Taiwo earlier about it, The Road to Number 10.
Are you going to put
And
yourself up for prime ministership? So we got to get
now,
you to the road to number 10.
well, that's me there. If you can see, that's me there. I got my bag already right there, as you can see. You know what I mean? you know, and and that's me and Kemi Badenoch. That she's uh,
What
I
year was this, Sid?
that was a few years ago. That's what no, actually that was a couple of years ago at an event at the conservative
Oh,
headquarters.
just a couple of years ago. Okay.
Yeah, but I was working with her, supporting her when she was in Dulwich. She was running in Dulwich at some point in Dulwich. Um, but the point I'm trying to say right there is I'm hoping to see if I can possible get each of the prospective candidates on, even for maybe not a live show, but some interview with them. The road to number 10. And one of the things that I want to bring out is the concern that many people have is we're concerned, and this is what I'm getting a lot from people, that only a selected people can choose the next prime minister. Many people are having a problem with that now. People are becoming very astute, and they're saying that that need to be changed or so. But that's how the system is out. We don't have we don't have a presidential system. I was mentioning to a lady today. I was talking at the tracks, and she said, "Let's not go to the presidential system because the only ones with the money win." Is that true, Anil? In America?
You could argue, the system of governance where the the government pay for so the election costs for all the folks are running. In my opinion, that's one of the best where you sort of take the corporate money and influence out of it, right? But it's still, I think it's still find its way in some form or fashion, even in the UK when you don't have that.
Mm. Yeah, Michelle said Trump's way. When you look at it now, Trump was speaking about sovereignty. He might have went about it the wrong way, but really he was correct.
Yeah, some
Was
people might say his policy, obviously he was a very polarizing figure. He said to the Germans years ago that your dependency on Russian oil is a national security issue, and everybody laughed at him.
Yeah.
And I believe the economists are saying for the first time in what, 30 or 40 years, Germany might go into a recession. Think about that. The
Wow.
first time in 30 or 40 years. And then I think Russia said they're going to cut off gas totally to the German folks. So it's interesting, but sovereignty is important, but we're also in a globally connected world, and we have to think about sort of how do we. It's not just a U.S. thing. It's how do we sort of ensure the economic development especially in Africa, especially in Latin America and the Caribbean. I would opine that if you take Latin America and the Caribbean, I think we have about 1.5 billion people or 2 billion people.
Yes.
We haven't done a lot of economic development.
Yes.
If you look at Africa, Africa is ready, right? If you look at all the things around technology that are going on in Nigeria, people will say Nigeria is going to be the next technological hub,
Yeah.
right? And the next Silicon Valley for
Mhm.
Africa. So there's a lot of positive things going on. My
Yes.
worry is that this setback, this whole issue that's going on, could set back a lot of those progress
Mm.
across these developing countries.
Hi, thanks. Jody? Yes.
Hi, good evening.
Hey, how you doing?
I am not bad. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good
Good
All
Hey.
the
evening.
things.
If Lester was here, he would have been giving you a hug with the colors behind you.
Oh my days. I just realized the colors behind her and the colors that she's wearing.
I know.
That's a double whammy, Jody. Did you know that?
Yes,
Lester will be
all
so
messed
happy.
up, man. Like you were just all messed up with that.
Well, listen. It's glad that you bring the sunshine to us. Taiwo, you're all the way in where? Leeds?
Yeah, well, South Yorkshire, you could say
In,
Leeds.
in South
Sheffield,
Yorkshire.
Leeds, yeah.
O'Neill
It's
in,
stubborn. I'm
yes.
in Virginia, but I'm gonna have to jet.
Before you jet, just to let you guys know that the MP Marsha Smith, she just messaged me to say she apologized that she can't make it, but she's gonna come on next week. At the MP for Northeast Centre. O'Neill, just I want you to see this video before you go, guys, because someone sent it to me and Jody. O'Neill, just bear with me for a second. It's something which happened in Jamaica. I think it was yesterday, and this was actually a video. There it is.
Police. Be a gunshot dog. Some police, plainclothes police. Big rifle. More police. More police. More police. More police. I don't know who on them. More police. Now back up out of the area, but now go on video.
And that guy is brave.
That guy's brave.
That guy is brave.
That guy is brave. Jody, would you be taking videos for us?
He has reporter qualities that I don't have.
That was somewhere in Nannyville. I don't know. Did you hear about it? Did you hear about it, Jody?
Yeah, I saw the video this morning.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know Nannyville. Nannyville is a place. So Nannyville. So I went to Excelsior Community College for a brief minute, and Nannyville is right across the thing. So when I saw Nannyville, I'm like, wow.
Yeah. So I think Lester sent it to me this morning, and I don't know the full story about it, but it was really. It's interesting how people move. Even the vehicles are driving past it while the guys are shooting. I said that's a bit really brave. You know what I'm saying? But Oni, listen. You see, you got to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Michelle states off topic. What Michelle say? What's off topic? Oni, this is a bit off subject. But what happened? No one even reached out to the artist that I introduced on the program last week.
I don't have the info. I don't have artist info.
Yeah. Did I not reach out? Don't worry, we'll sort it out. We'll sort it
Yeah,
out.
so
Yeah, it was a very
artist-
hectic. Yeah.
so hold on. Sorry, I know we're off topic, but this is an artist that from
Came in
Jamaica,
last. The one that came in last.
Jamaica or
Bird's
the
eye.
UK.
Bird's eye.
Was she Jamaica or UK? I don't
She's
remember.
in the Jamaica. She's in Jamaica.
Okay, send me her
Yeah,
contact.
yeah,
So, and
yeah. That's me. That's not Oni. That's me. I think we did something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was a crazy week. Oni, listen. All the
hold on,
best, buddy. Sorry.
Michelle O'Neill. This is a bit off, but what happened to no? Oh, okay, she was the same.
That's the same thing. She's Taiwo brought it to my knowledge there. So we will sort that
Michelle
out.
will sort that out.
We'll sort it out. Apologies for that. Okay. Good stuff.
All right, Tao, great meeting you, Jody.
Nice meeting you too. Yes.
Jody, me mad for you, cause man come at Jamaica, text you, text back nobody. But all right, I saw it goes.
Jody,
Anil, I wasn't well. I thought Silver told you that. It was kind of upgrade for us.
I know if you hopefully you're good, but you make sure you can still text. I say me know well.
it was O'Neill is a talk. O'Neill was a doctor.
They bring some chicken soup
I'm
for you.
sorry, Anil. I'm sorry about that, Anil. Next time, please let me know ahead of time that you're going to be in the country, okay? So I can plan for this. I can plan not to get sick.
Sometimes I just zoom in and zoom out. You can't tell people because you see what's going on in Vilda. You can't tell people. All right.
Sid, I hope you're not trying to discourage me from taking a trip to.
No. You're don't worry. You're going to Trelawney and Duncan's.
You're going to a place called Spalding. Don't go Ocherous.
Okay.
All right, Mr. O'Neill. Take care.
Take care, O'Neill. Nice to meet you.
All right, Jody.
Bye.
All right, take care, Anil.
Jody, before we go on to something in Jamaica there, did you follow what's happening in the UK regarding the change of leaders? And do you some people are saying that will never happen at Jamaica when leaders resign. Never happen when leaders step down.
Not just Jamaica.
You know what? Silburn, I've been watching a number of things and I've been listening. I've been listening to the program from you started, and I went back to something that I remember glancing past some time ago. And it was an article which was written, well, it's actually on the United Nations webpage. But I had to go back to it and read it because a lot of what you were saying sounded like something I read before.
Yes.
So I went back to it, and the same thing, this was from February 2022. That's February of this year, right?
Yes.
Global leaders agree on the challenges facing humanity. Why can't we agree on action, right? And as the Secretary General of the United States, this was United Nations. Sorry, this was remember this was February now.
Yes.
I spend much of my time speaking with the world leaders and taking pulse of global trends. It's clear to me that we are at a defining moment in international relations. Global decision making is plagued by gridlock, and a fundamental paradox lies at the heart of it all. Yes. On the one hand, many of today's global leaders recognize our common threats. COVID, climate, the unregulated development of new technology. They agree that something needs to be done about them, yet that common understanding is not matched by common action. So the world leaders have been recognizing the problems that we've been having. But the problem is everybody can't come up with a common solution or an action to deal with the different problems. So we all recognize Silver, and this is what I'm saying, that we have global issues. Same global issues affecting everybody. And if we work together, we can come up with the solutions because they're affecting every country. And I think somebody mentioned countries changing their systems in order for things to change, because we can always change leaders. I think we've had this conversation before. We could change leaders, we could change parties if the fundamentals are not dealt with, it doesn't make sense. If policies
Mm.
don't change, it doesn't make sense. So, with everything that is happening globally, we are going to have a change of leader in almost every country in the next year, right?
Mm.
That's going to be almost guaranteed because people are all at a point of frustration. And the culture and the history of it is that as soon as we're frustrated, so we can't be frustrated anymore, we do one of probably three or four things. Either we exile our leaders, um, we vote them out, we kill them, or we just decide to go with the system as it is. Its history will repeat itself over and
Mm.
over again. That's just what history has said. But if we decide as a people internationally to change the system, there's a lot that can be done. And a lot of it has to do with some of the policies that we have that makes our system as difficult as it is now and makes it harder for us as human beings to just be civil with each other. The system is based on who is in a better power, who has more power, who has more authority to be making
Yeah.
the decisions for everybody else to follow. And
Yeah.
it's just been the same cycle, and until we decide as human beings, as individuals, that we are the decision makers and we decide who gets into power, we decide what should be done when they get into power rather than just we put them into power. They recognize they
Mm.
can't get into power without us. So they friend us all up, give us what we need. Each country has their own styles of doing it,
Yeah.
right? Tell us what we want to hear, give us what they think we need, then they get into power. And once they get into power, what we negotiated on before you were in power gets pushed aside and you have your own agenda. Then another party comes in and their agenda comes to the forefront. So the needs of the people are not met and policies are not changed because everybody always goes in with their own agenda, even though they need the real power, which are the people, to back them being in that seat. So we have to make, just like we made the choice, Silburn, that we will become the mainstream media and not allow
Mm.
the what was considered the mainstream media to control what people see and hear and make decisions on. Everybody now has a voice. Everybody now has a platform because
Mm.
of social media and COVID and a lot of things. I mean, COVID was not all bad, by the way, people. I'm just saying. Let's use the things that we learned in COVID and implement them now and don't just throw them aside because we say we want things to go back to normal. They will
Yes.
never go back to normal. We are in the middle of a revolution, people. And when we recognize that we are in the middle of a revolution, we need to adapt, we need to change, we need to make new systems fit the revolution.
So Jody, so do you think then that what is happening is the revolution is there to happen and it's happening, but then people are also um, restraining themselves from going into that, trying to go back to what it was before, and two, the international global community, which we're talking about, where they used to work together, the G7 and all the G21 or whatever like that, Russia and the Ukraine thing has actually put a spoiler into that, whereby they are not working very effectively together. Isn't that so, Taiwo? And that is what is creating the big problem now.
Oh,
They're not
well,
together. The word is not together.
Jody, it's always nice to hear
Yeah.
your contributions. I must say, there's so much I just wanted to uh, um, pick up on there. So I may have to get you to reiterate some of the points. But first of all, I'll just start by saying um, I don't like the word revolution because it suggests um, that a group, the revolutionists, are working separately, campaigning separately from the establishments, the established institutions. And it can bring issues to the fore. It can make it known that these are the issues that are hurting us, but it can't actually I doubt if it can even do as much as table a policy. Okay, not a draft bill or anything, but even just table a policy. It doesn't really. Governments typically like to clamp down hard on groups that, and we've seen this all over. I think political systems to some extent, when you talk of dissent, it doesn't matter whether it's the US or it doesn't matter, or China or Nigeria. The responses are generally the same, and it's usually false and it's never good. So, but that being said, what I think can be done is we can there needs to be a strengthening, I feel, of the international organizations, such as uh, well, I say international organizations. So what am I even talking about? These organizations are spread across the world. There are many that are regional. So some focused on Latin America, LATAM. You'll have the West African collection. You'll have the Asian groups. You'll have the OECD in Europe and stuff like that. And these groups tend to look out for the collective interests of those regions, which is a good thing. It's a good start,
Mm.
and it allows them to come to the table of, say, a superpower, a developed nation, or one of the groups in developed regions to say, okay, this is what we want. And because they're a collective voice, if you're talking the African Union, it would be maybe 50 countries. If you're talking ECOWAS, it would be maybe, I don't know, 20 countries. Or if you're talking, the Latin American group, it would be X number. So that's a good start. Okay. But that's only step one. And I mention this because, again, you got to remember that we're now at the stage where it seems it's every man for himself, in a sense of each country is really focused more on what serves their purpose, even on the thing like climate. The only reason we're seeing maybe some collaborative working on the issue of climate is it's easy to understand how the climate issues affect everybody collectively. The Amazon in Brazil, if it's decimated, it doesn't just affect Brazil, it affects Europe, so it's
Tyrell,
only yes.
keep finish your point, and then I'll come in. I want to come
Yeah.
in.
So what I'm trying to say is we to uh need to work, and when I say we need to, I'm talking, I mean, people like us here, okay, because uh, government institutions will only and are only able to deliver to a certain point, and they're very reactionary. You don't solve the root of a problem by addressing the tip of the problem that is visible today. And you can remember, well, in the news today, it came out that the Prime Minister of the UK asked the new Chancellor to cut taxes, and that as if that was going to be a strategy for him to hold on to power. Oh, so because I'm under threat now, oh, new Chancellor cut taxes. So that's very reactionary.
Yeah,
We can't do
yeah,
things like that. We can't
okay,
survive.
yeah. I want to go back to Jody. Thank you for that, Tyrell, and a bit about revolution. And revolution comes in different forms. Don't you think? It's not when you when you hear the word revolution, Tyrell. Are you thinking about taking up arms like those gunshots which was
No,
firing a
no,
while
no. I'm
ago?
not talking. No, no. I Yes, you're
Don't you
right.
think? Don't you think Mark Zuckerberg was a revolution with
Um,
Facebook?
no, I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't.
It's a
I mean, it's
revolution. It revolutionized the whole way of doing things. That's why we are here. That was a revolution. I want to go to Jody. Let me bring back to Jody. Go, Jody.
Yeah, and I felt when he mentioned that revolution. Revolution comes in many ways. We've been through major revolutions over the years because of war, because of technology, and this is the technological revolution, for which everyone must understand. It's two revolutions that are happening right now, and if you are a historian and if you understand how things work and change over a period of time, we're going through a very, very strong economic and technological revolution. And maybe I should have been a little bit more specific when I said that. I'm going to tell you something. One of two reasons given by the Secretary General in the same UN report from February 9, 2022, he said many of today's global institutions or frameworks are outdated or simply weak, and the necessary frameworks are impeded by geopolitical divides. For example, and we've spoke about a number of these before, Silburn, right? Yes. For example, the authority of the World Health Organization is nowhere what is required to coordinate the response to the global pandemic. And this was speaking specifically to COVID first, right? At the same time, the international institution with more power were either paralyzed by division, like the Security Council, or under democratic, like many of the other international financial institutions. In short, global governance is failing at precisely the moment when the world should be coming together to solve the global problems. We need to act together in national and global self-interest to protect the critical global public goods, like the public health and the livable climate that is supporting the human well-being. And he goes on to explain sustainability, development, human rights, dignity, and all of that. And then it comes all the way back down now to the same things that we mentioned before. The government, we've already identified that there is a global crisis, right? In terms of leadership, in terms of policies, we've already recognized that. But the solution part of it now is where we have not been able to come together. So there's a number of things that has faced us. I mean, everybody decided at first when COVID came out, there was a global approach to the pandemic. And then everybody recognized that, hey, there is an opportunity in this pandemic for me. And so each nation grabbed onto whatever opportunity came their way first. When they grabbed onto whichever opportunity came their way first, they pushed that in their countries. That's what each leader did. And instead of taking a global approach, everybody took a selfish approach. It's all about what we want and all about what we should be doing. And so there was a divide. And because there was a divide, people got selfish. And because of their selfishness, everybody now is in a grabs for themselves. Then there is destabilization. The economy got destabilized. The people got destabilized. The health system broke down so badly. There was a system in place to make us have the perfect health system ever seen before, based on what was set out in the beginning of COVID to manage this pandemic. If we had followed the rules, just saying, if we all stick together and follow the rules that were set out in the beginning of COVID, instead of becoming opportunistic persons in each country, each leader decided what was best for them and went for it, then we would have never had this divide that we're having now and this breakdown. Because it broke out in war and selfishness, it broke out in many other economic downfall and now leadership downfalls. There are going to be many more leaders who are going to have to step down. And them stepping down doesn't necessarily mean there is a succession plan. It just means that they feel that they have failed, or the people feel that they have failed, and they want a change. Does the change necessarily mean that there's going to be progress? Not necessarily.
So therefore, in wrapping up, what you're actually saying is that COVID presented an opportunity and showed us how nations can work together.
Exactly.
In the initial stage.
So it is not all negative.
I'm sorry?
It wasn't all negative. It showed us that as a world, we could have made a decision together to shut down countries so that we could protect ourselves. That had to take unity. And even though there were persons who rebelled and there were certain persons who, it was a global decision. It was a global decision that worked for a period of time.
Okay, Taiwo,
Jody, I'll have to send you a couple of podcasts to listen to. Maybe you've listened to them, but I'm sure you're aware the collaborative effort to sort of find, suitable treatments, vaccine, and all that for COVID was largely down to the collective scientific community. It wasn't so much the political leaders. If it was left to the politicians, they would have just bungled it the way they usually do. It was I've listened to a couple of them recently, and I can't remember their names
All
off the
right.
top
So
of my
I'm
head.
going to tell you something, that is probably going to shock you a little bit.
Okay.
Most of the decisions made were not medical decisions. You have the medical personnel speaking out now, but they were never medical decisions. Guaranteed.
Well, probably that might be true, but I'm talking specifically about the trials that were done of the four, you know, drugs that were out there, including the.
I understand, sir. I understand the
Yeah.
point. I understand where you're coming from, but I will not agree with you.
All right. Okay. Well. So therefore, we agree
There
to
is
disagree.
information and there is information.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So
Okay.
we agree to disagree. And on that note, there was a person with monkeypox in Jamaica. He
That's
came from
absconded the hospital.
That's what?
They ran away from the hospital.
You're at Taiwan, the only person in
They're
Jamaica
trying
with
to
monkey.
find them.
No, I just got a message a while ago that they found him.
They found it.
Yeah. Breaking news. National news understand the monkeypox patient who fled
Has
the
been
Jamaican
found.
hospital has been found. He was reportedly taken into custody at his home a short while ago. He's now back in isolation. So Taiwo,
Yes.
they said he came from the UK.
Are you serious?
That's what it is claimed or it is alleged. Just like how COVID came from the UK. I
Oh
know you say
my.
you want to. I know you say you want to go to Jamaica, but they may look at you twice, check on you all over, right, Jody? Jody is gonna have to
Yes,
check you
for
over.
sure.
Well, I mean, what can I say?
Yeah. So this monkeypox thing is it's but Jody, what did they say about monkeypox? How is monkeypox transferred from person to person? Do you know?
Person to person, person to animals, direct contact. I think at one point in time I was hearing droplets through childbirth, and also through droplets, childbirth, direct contact. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing so far.
Okay. Okay. Well, I don't hear much of it in the UK though. But because they have been
Oh, you are
exported,
not gonna report it. You have other things to report. You don't want it to
because they have
scare
been they have been exported to Jamaica.
Apparently.
Yeah. Well, guys, listen. It was a good evening. I want to wrap up in 3 minutes' time. Within less. Jody, any latest from Jamaica? Anything latest?
I mean, my thought process on a lot of things is usually very different, Silver. So here we go. I think we need to do a lot to adjust or what's happening with crime and violence here. I mean, I see where the government and the security minister has put in to clamp down on a lot of the illegalities that's been going on. And I think that has a lot to do with some of what you saw on that video. I think the unofficial, no, and that's not the word I want to use. That's not the word I want to use.
Yes.
The unregulated economy in Jamaica.
Yes.
Funds a lot of crime and violence in our country. What we've been seeing a lot in the media going on. And I think they're trying to clamp on that, which is why we have so many different things where we see shootings and going on. If we get a grip on that, a lot of things will have a ripple effect on some of what we've been seeing in the news. And I guess once that's done, I don't know. It won't go back to normal, but some things will change.
So it's all entwined. A lot of things are
Yeah,
entwined.
everything is. Yeah,
And
it's all
the
related.
bottom from the top to the bottom. And I heard a news report recently saying something to the extent that it said something like a lot of corruption is in place or something like that. And people were laughing and said, "Well, we know that from where we are. We know that from a long time."
Yeah, that is true. Everybody knows there's corruption everywhere in the system. Our country's government leadership style has been like that for years. Um,
Yeah.
Whether or not we can prove it, that would be up to those who have the facts and the information and the evidence. But it's so mainstream and obvious that I don't know. Everybody knows. The child just born knows.
Yeah. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Well, well, guys, all the best. Taiwo,
Yes.
the last word.
Well, let's just see what
Favorite
happens.
last word.
Let's just see what happens this week in British
The UK.
politics, and then we can decide. Did you say you have an MP coming on next week?
No, it's Jamaica. Jamaica.
Oh, Jamaican MP. Okay, right. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But
Okay.
I'm hoping to start having some
You're
British.
going to go and put your camera stand on the lawn outside number 10.
I used to go down there regularly, you know. And my interview program used to be there every Sunday
Oh
on
yes, I
college,
remember. That's true.
on College Green.
I
I interviewed.
remember. That's
Yes, yes.
true. Why did that stop? We need to do you need to resume that now.
Yeah. We need to do that on a Sundays, but the Sundays are so crazy now, and the parking down that side is crazy. And to do that now, because it's a funny place. All the BBCs and all the ITV, they have their big stand there now, and they're
Yes.
gonna be camping out there until the leadership election is done. That's what
Yes.
happened there. So the place is now sort of overbooked, and they pay lots of money to be there and stuff like that. You know. So, but who knows? We can stand in the middle of the road at number
Well, I was
down.
gonna say just pick a different spot, and have an usher to usher the MPs to your spot, But
Yeah, and then we got to say to the MPs, the people want to hear from you, because guess what? They know that the average person in the UK is not going to make a difference for them, for the leaders. That's the thing again, it's not going to be the average Joe Blow. So they might not be interested, but people need to actually emphasize, just like how the media will. The media will try to tie them up by saying, I know you're running for the leadership. I know the only 200,000 people can vote for you. I know only a certain amount of MPs can, but the wider collective in the UK need to hear from you. What's your position on this? What's your position on this? What's your position on Rwanda? But guess what? They can say everything, Taiwo, but it is still left to the 200,000 people if it is whittled down to two, and it is left to all those MPs for the Conservative. That's what it
well,
whittled down.
this is why I have to think carefully. Going back to what we were discussing about not sitting on the fringes anymore.
Jody, the interesting thing about the UK now is this, what we're seeing is that the Asians are taking over. We could have an Asian prime minister. And if you realize, and recently we had a Asian chancellor, we have an Asian home secretary. But when black people join the Conservative, they say, you're a sellout. How can you drive Conservative? And guess what? The Asians, they are just strategizing and just getting at the table, creating tables, creating doors.
Don't forget your live, Sid.
Make a difference if you don't have a seat at the table.
I know I'm live. And when persons like me go like this and say, I'm going to number 10, I'm in the Conservative Party. How can you from Jamaica be a Conservative? Blah, blah, blah. We miss the mark. We miss it, Taiwo.
We missed the most important thing. You remember when I said that about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I don't remember who I said it to. You use the system that exists and you use what is there already and you make a difference until you can stand on your own. It's a
Yes.
simple thing.
Yes.
It's very, very simple. We are trapped in our minds so much that we
Yes.
limit ourselves to only one solution. There's more than one solution. You
And that's why.
can't make a difference if you don't have a seat at the table. It's simple. You have to just
That's why.
have a seat at the table.
And that's why Tyler is joining me.
How are you doing?
I'm being persuaded gradually.
I've got
You know
persons
what?
from.
I'm gonna bring something to just quickly to say, Sovereign. You know the Saudi Arabia president is here, right, in Jamaica.
Delegation. Yeah, I saw
Yes,
them. Yeah.
delegation is here, is in Jamaica, right? And I keep saying this. It's weird how we see these leaders come to Jamaica and make investments in Jamaica, and
Yes.
they still call us a third world country. The same thing when we had the Chinese government, the Japanese government, all these governments come to small island Jamaica that makes this huge impact on the world to come here and make investments. What does that say about Jamaica?
What does it say about Jamaica to you?
For me personally, I've always known Jamaica is, and it's just like before, pre-slavery when Jamaica was discovered, right?
Yes.
Jamaica made a lot of money for more than one country, for France, for Europe on a whole. Um, and I keep thinking, if we were one of the richest countries in the world, don't you think that just having that foundation of being the richest country in the world, we could be going right back there? Don't you think we have the capacity to do that again?
So therefore, instead of saying that we want to wait for Vision 2030 to be a developed country, just squash that and just say we are a developed country. We are Jamaica.
Exactly.
Boom.
We done develop long time.
Done
Story
develop long
done.
time.
We
But
done
but we are,
develop. There is no developing left to develop. We develop. We
but
just
we have
need
been
the policies
yeah,
that are in the way
yeah.
that
But we are
preventing everybody to fly high.
So the measurement which is being measured is by someone else. We need to mash up that measurement. Cause a revolution, man. Revolution,
Exactly.
Taiwo.
Revolution. Siren doesn't like that word at all. I swear he doesn't. I see that look on his face. Oh Lord, it's okay. It's how you.
I
It's what
understand.
you've
We
been
we
taught
have different kinds
and
of
how your brain is
revolutions.
wired. Your brain has been wired to think of revolution in one specific way. There's so many sides to a revolution. All right.
Yeah,
The
I
revolution.
understand. It's just I have the Iranian Revolution in my mind
The,
whenever
the,
we hear
the
that.
revolution shall be streamed.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, great ending. And we're gonna follow this up, Taiwo, to have a discussion about being at the table.
Okay.
And the angle from Jody is that play the game till you're able to stand on your own. And it takes a while.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, what's gonna happen is this. We're gonna be talking about it 50 years from now.
That's true.
Yep.
Our children are gonna talk about it 50 years from now.
That is true. That is true.
And we're gonna wonder, how did we miss it? Guess why?
Yes.
Because we were spooked.
Yes.
We were spooked by those who deemed to be
Yes.
the guards of the black agenda.
Yes.
And
Yes.
instead of actually liberating us, we're actually being imprisoned
Yes.
more and more
Yes.
by those who are
Yes.
supposed to be deemed to be the liberators. Many not gonna like what I just said a while ago, because I'm revolutionizing a different revolution. Jody has set me free.
I tell you, Silver.
All right. Anyway, guys.
I didn't see
Yes.
anybody take a drink this evening.
Anybody what?
I didn't see anybody take a drink this evening.
Oh, it's been so
Oh, you
serious,
having
Jody.
water?
It's been so serious, Jody. We haven't had time for a drink.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Well, I had some soursop juice.
I had tea, some because you know I've been here my coffee.
Some tea and water.
I had tea with lemon.
Yeah, I had some soursop here.
Wow, so hey, Taiwo.
Yes.
Bad drink, you know, soursop. You need that alone make you go Jamaica.
What kind of sort of? What kind of sort of?
No, it's soursop, not
Oh,
sauce.
soursop. Oh, soursop. Okay. Soursop. Okay, I get you. Okay.
Do you know what they call it in Brazil? Guanama.
All right. Okay.
Yes, I've
Guanama.
heard that.
You heard that before, Jody?
Yeah.
Guanama. Yeah, and it's selling in the UK.
And they
Guanama.
have some very big ones.
Yes. Guanama.
They grow them very big.
All right. Okay.
And it makes you get big as well, Taiwo. Anyway, let's rock up.
Okay.
Yes, and it works on your neurological system, which is why I'm drinking.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
Yes.
Nice and calm.
So it's good for you then.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Very, very.
I
good.
need to try that. It's probably like
The
like
entire
traditional.
tree, actually. We use the leaves and the bark to make tea, and it has anti-carcinogenic components. So persons who are diagnosed with cancer, it's usually one of the number one what you call it again? Pharmaceutical,
Holistic.
non-pharmaceutical approaches, holistic approach that you use.
Okay.
Good for anybody
Well,
with nervous system problems.
okay.
And these are what you call natural
Remedies.
stuff, right, Jody?
Yeah,
Natural stuff.
naturopathic
Alright.
method of medicine,
Yeah.
which is what I try mostly.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, listen. Have a good night and take care of yourself, Jody. Enjoy the real Jamaica, the real sunshine, and real everything.
I will
We
enjoy
are having-
the fake sunshine.
No, it's not fake.
Jody enjoyed the real one.
Yeah,
we
we're having some good sunshine. We're having some good sunshine.
Jody, we're enjoying the manufactured sunshine today. It was pretty good. The output was good today.
Really good. And
Manufactured
it was-
sunshine.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Well,
Yeah, we should.
since you're enjoying the real sunshine, then the one we have is probably adulterated, is what I'm saying. I'm joking, of course. I mean, well, it can't be that real because ours lasts only for 1 week or 2 weeks, and then that's it. So,
Yeah.
Oh wow,
yeah.
so sad. That's why y'all need to plan a trip to Jamaica.
Oh yes, definitely. I'm definitely up for that. Sid,
Yeah, you haven't been to Jamaica, Tower. You haven't been. To
no,
Jamaica?
I haven't. Shame on me, I haven't.
Wonders of the world, the last
Maybe-
wonders.
Maybe I need to get Jody to invite me. I don't know.
You're invited already. Right?
Okay.
You're
Good.
you're already invited. You don't need a
Good,
special
good.
invite. You're already invited.
Good. So I just need to get on the plane then. Will you pick me up from the airport then?
Well, it depends on where you're staying.
Well, I need someone.
And the
Where
airport.
do you want me to stay? That's
In
on
Toronto.
you, Jody. You can arrange that for me.
So you're going to Duncan's, Trelawney.
I'll delegate that to
Silver,
you.
you're already set up, you know. I'm not in
Jody,
Dublin anymore, Silver.
Where are you now?
I'm in Hague.
Is that Trelawney?
Same Trelawney. We're not leaving Trelawney, you mad? And go where? St. Anne? Otress? No, sir.
So you're going to Westwood High School. You're going to stay at Westwood.
That's
Taiwan.
Stuart Town.
Westwood.
Yeah.
Westwood. Okay,
that's where-
cool.
West-
Just so I know.
Westwood is my alma mater.
Okay, so I'll just when they ask me at the airport, sir, and so you visiting? Yes, and where are you staying? I just say Westwood, right?
And they would say, "Are you a new teacher?"
Yes,
Oh,
yes, I'm a teacher. Yes, I'm a
Then
new
make
teacher.
Silver set you up real bad, you know.
Because some guy will go like this. You're saying whistle? Are you a teacher or what? With your credentials.
Oh my God. That's a good one.
Anyway, guys, have a good night, yeah?
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, nice chat.
Great having
Nice
us,
to meet you again, Jody.
Yes.
Yes.
Cheers, man.
Okay, have a good evening.
Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye. Well, ladies and gentlemen, just gonna wrap up now, and I love this music. This music is so cool. This music is so smooth. The music play. Okay, well, good show tonight with my good friend from Sri Lanka, and also Jody, and also Anil and Taiwo and Muir Jaya from Sri Lanka, giving us an update as to what's going on in Sri Lanka there. And for those on Instagram, thank you so much for joining, and see you next week. And thank you for Marcia Smith, Member of Parliament. Look forward to hear from you next week. And all the best. Have a good night and peace out. Boom.